Me now is the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Ahmed Hussen. So, Minister, earlier today you said more and more countries are closing their doors on immigrants, but Canada is opening its doors wider. Why?
Well, because immigration is a great tool for our economic growth. It helps us meet our labor market challenges, it helps us meet our skills shortages, and it helps us address our demographic challenges. In 1971, we had 6.6 persons per one retiree. By 2012, that ratio had dropped to 4.2 working persons per retiree. By 2036, which is less than 20 years away, that ratio will drop to 2 to 1. So we have to deal with this, and one of the best ways to deal with this is through immigration. But immigration also deals with the regional labor market needs of provinces. They have told us loud and clear, unanimously, that we need immigration, we need an increase, and the provincial nominee program, which is a great program that spreads the benefits of immigration across the country, will see an increase in the multi-year plan.
Right.
And finally, the reason why it's multi-year is because settlement service providers, integration service providers, municipalities, provinces have told us repeatedly that they would like multi-year immigration planning so that they can have the predictability and the stability and the confidence to plan ahead to make sure that integration continues to be successful.
Okay, so 310,000 next year, 330, 2019, 340 in 2020, almost 1 million over the next 3 years. But the government's own advisory council on economic growth called for 450,000 immigrants a year by 2021. So why did you decide to go further or not further?
Well, the numbers that we've arrived at are based on very, very extensive consultations with various stakeholders, municipalities, settlement service providers, academics, provinces. And look, at the end of the day, the important thing is not only to bring the skilled immigrant and the family class and the refugee to Canada, it's also to make sure that for each newcomer that we bring to this country, we have the necessary tools and the supports to enable them to succeed very quickly so that they can give back to Canada. And our integration, our settlement program is a world-leading program.
Okay,
other countries are learning from us.
Are you suggesting that 450 a year, we just couldn't handle that influx all at once?
No, I'm suggesting that the numbers that we've arrived at are ambitious. 310, 330, 340 are ambitious numbers that will meet our increasingly important numbers for economic class. 60% of the immigrants that are coming in will come to create jobs and prosperity for all of us. And I'm proud to be part of a government that, as more and more countries close their doors, we are taking the opposite approach. We are open to people, to talent, to skills, and to ideas.
We hear you on that, for sure. But let me ask you about a number that was missing from your news conference earlier today, and that's a dollar figure. Why aren't you talking about how much money this is all going to cost?
Well, every increase in immigration is coupled with an increase in settlement funding, in integration funding. We have, for the last 2 years since we've been in government, every single year we've increased money and resources for settlement and integration services. We feel that that is a really important investment.
Okay, I understand that, Minister, but no doubt you've crunched the numbers and you have a ballpark on how much this increase is going to cost. What is that number?
Well, I can tell you for a fact that we wouldn't increase immigration if we weren't confident in our ability to fund the settlement services that are needed.
With respect, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you how much it's going to cost. Do you know or do you not know?
This year we have spent almost $700 million in settlement and integration money outside of Quebec and $350 million in Quebec. The next year's numbers are an increase of 10,000 newcomers, so you'll see a slight increase over 700 million outside of Quebec and an equal amount, a proportional amount for Quebec because we have the Canada-Quebec agreement.
And you're making me do math here. The year after that, it's going to go up, presumably, and the year after that as well. Are we talking by tens of millions of dollars?
Well, absolutely, because that's where the need is. But we know that those investments pay off very fast.
I understand, but we also know that you're running a deficit that you promised would be much smaller than the one that you're projecting and the PBO is projecting now. You're not worried about that?
We are committed to making the necessary investments to make sure that we are able to absorb newcomers and help give them the tools that they need to succeed. And by the way, these numbers came from consultations with provinces, with municipalities,
yes,
and with the settlement service providers,
yes,
to make sure that we can do this right.
I understand.
We will get it right.
Okay, finally, Minister, it seems that Canadians have mixed views on immigration. This year, an Angus Reid poll found that 39% of respondents thought immigration is having a positive effect in Canada, but 39% think it's having a negative effect. And again, this year, Ecos Politics found that about 40% of Canadians think there are too many immigrants who are members of visible minorities. What's your reaction to those numbers?
My reaction to the numbers is that traditionally Canadians have always understood the positive contributions that immigrants make to our country, economically, socially, culturally. Our country, you can't separate Canada's history. Apart from our Indigenous brothers and sisters, Canadian history is the history of immigration, and immigration has literally shaped the last 150 years of Confederation.
Can you do more to turn those opinions around, though?
Of course, we can always do better, but I can tell you our settlement and integration services are the best in the world. 93% of newcomers to Canada obtain English or French language skills very quickly. 85% obtain citizenship. We are a world leader in integration, and we can always do more and better. But let's not kid ourselves. Canada is a global leader when it comes to welcoming and integrating people and making sure that they reach their potential. And those individuals end up turning around and contributing so much to Canadian society in job creation and in prosperity for all of us.
Minister, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for this, though.
Thank you for having me.